a data scientist at Battelle working on CBRNE quantitative risk assessment and a previous Futurekind AI fellow. Based in Philadelphia, he collaborates on research projects in quantitative ecology, biosecurity, and animal communication. His interests lie at the intersection of biology and mathematics at full scales.
Hey everyone, I'm Lee. I just wanted to talk today about some evolving thoughts I have on aligning AI with animal preferences directly, and how we might do that. There will probably be a lot of convergence with previous talks, which is a euphemism for redundancy, but I'm hoping I got something to the conversation that makes the future go well for animals. So I'll go ahead and blitz through this background, but AI systems today are the least capable that they'll ever be. And right now, the length of tasks that they can successfully complete is going up exponentially. And we have a limited window of time to influence this. So this means that in the future, these systems are going to be more like agents that are operating in the world of their own accord and not just tools that we operate at a computer. And they will be deployed in contexts where they can affect animals. Right now, we have no guarantee that they will be safe or beneficial for those animals. So the question I think that we should be asking as animal advocates is what solutions scale? So in the near term, we can do things like altering large language models to have less speciesist training data, since they have inherited all of our speciesist biases from the corpus of text that we digitized. But future AIs aren't just going to be text-based. In 2040 and 2100, they may be embodied. They may be multimodal, taking in video, audio feeds, and all sorts of other things. And my claim is that it's not going to be enough to align just to animal advocates. We're going to need to align with their preferences directly, which we have techniques for doing this for humans. And it's debatable whether or not they work robustly enough to align it so it doesn't kill us all or something. But we have reinforcement learning from human feedback and other things of that sort. So what's the animal equivalent? So I think that multimodal models are an opportunity for animal advocates because text is not the medium in which animals communicate. It is not the medium in which they express preference or where we can infer their welfare from indicators. On the other hand, things like video, audio, temperature, and all these other modes, smell, taste, that these models might expand to are media and channels that animals communicate in, which means that we have a window of opportunity before these things are being developed and before AI systems become multimodal to influence the development of them to increase the surface area for preference expression. And my claim is that we need to make sure that any model that is operating in a context where it can affect animals is accounting for preferences along the channels that they're actually expressing those preferences in, even if the model is just taking text-based instructions, even if that is not the modality that the model was designed for. So I have kind of like a mock-up, very simple like architecture diagram here. But so pretty much the only difference between this one and the last one is that there needs to be this extra thing, which is like a translation layer for welfare indicators and preferences. And that preference data stream needs to be what the agent sees and what the agent optimizes. So it can't just take in the data and not have some other layer because it won't by default account for animals that way. So as just an example of how this might work, I don't know much about controlled burns, so this is just kind of off the dome. But if you imagine that we have like a drone that is flying through a forest and it's going to do a controlled burn on its own, it needs to be able to distinguish the animals as distinct from the wood so that it doesn't burn them. And if it does start burning and it hears a distress call, it needs to stop burning, extinguish the fire, and maybe provide pain relief and first aid to any animals that it burnt. And to do this, it needs to have these channels and infer these preferences dynamically. And that way, these guys stay safe. So how do we do it? So the first step is obviously welfare biology. We have to understand preferences and welfare indicators robustly enough to align with them. I don't think that this is a necessary step a blocker for developing AI systems that account for preferences, because I think these things can be worked on in parallel. I think we can do the technical research on AI that will account for these preferences as we advance our understanding of those preferences. Should I put all up? So that brings me to technical AI and animals research. So we need to do the architecture work to figure out how these things will look in a future where we have all of these modalities and all of this data fusion going in to agents that are making decisions. And then we need policy to make sure that all the most powerful models are actually accounting for this, and that there is some basic requirement that they are aligned in the channels that animals are communicating preference in. And then I just have some basic ideas. This is the fuzziest part, the part I have thought the least about. But what this looks like on the technical side, I think advancing multimodal models in a way that is safe, and yeah, reinforcement learning that shapes the agent itself. So even if the agent is a large language model at its core that is taking instructions from humans, it needs to be aligned in some way with the preferences that are coming in from other modalities. Yeah, with that, thank you. Let's connect. And special thanks to my sister for help.